Tiffany Henyard. The rise and fall of mayor in crisis, once known for her lavish displays of leadership and self-promotion, former Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard is now at the center of a scandal that has left her town reeling. Henyard, who once basked in political power and material excess, is facing dire financial struggles that stand in stark contrast to her previously extravagant lifestyle. The same figure who spent nearly $200,000 on welcome banners featuring her own image is now reportedly pleading for financial assistance just to maintain the luxury she once flaunted. Henyard's fall from grace has struck a nerve with Dalton residents, who watched as she prioritized personal gain over public service. Her time in office, marked by excessive spending, financial mismanagement, and self-promotion, has left the town of Dalton grappling with the long-term consequences of her decisions throughout her tenure. Henyard was infamous for spending large sums of taxpayer money on non-essential luxuries. Her security detail alone reportedly cost over $133,000 in overtime pay during a single pay period, more than some Dalton families make in several years. Meanwhile, the town's basic services were in decline. The fire department operated without a formal contract for 5 years, and police vehicles faced repossession due to unpaid debts. Henyard's personal travel expenses also raised eyebrows. She took costly out-of-town trips and indulged in luxuries that had little to no benefit for the community she was elected to serve. All the while, Dalton's financial health deteriorated, with residents facing mounting economic hardship and underfunded public services. Many saw a leader grossly disconnected from the daily realities of her constituents, focused more on promoting her public image than addressing urgent community needs. Perhaps even more troubling were Henyard's financial maneuvers behind the scenes. She allegedly took out millions in personal loans, using city infrastructure as collateral. This move further burdened Dalton with unsustainable debt, worsening the already fragile financial state of the town. Legal threats from creditors loomed large, while basic municipal operations were neglected. The financial strain became so severe that city-owned vehicles risked repossession, and key departments struggled to function without adequate funding as the city spiraled deeper into financial distress. Henyard appeared to act with impunity, continuing to live in comfort and avoid accountability. Her choices painted a clear picture: a leader who prioritized personal luxury and political self-preservation over the people she was sworn to serve. One of the most damning aspects of Henyard's record is her involvement in a Section 8 housing scandal. The federal program is designed to provide low-income families with safe and affordable housing. Yet Henyard, while serving as mayor, reportedly profited from government subsidies connected to a property she owned that had fallen into extreme disrepair. The property in question, plagued by mold, water damage, and other serious hazards, was deemed uninhabitable as early as November 2019. Despite this, Henyard continued to collect taxpayer-funded rental payments. Her neglect of the property's condition, while profiting off federal aid meant to support vulnerable families, revealed a shocking disregard for the well-being of her tenants. It underscored a broader pattern of behavior: exploiting public systems for personal gain while ignoring the suffering of those most in need. The fallout from Henyard's time in office has been nothing short of devastating. Her leadership has become synonymous with corruption, extravagance, and gross mismanagement. What angers the public most is not just the financial ruin, but the betrayal. Residents place their trust in Henyard to lead with integrity and serve the community's best interests. Instead, many feel she used her office to enrich herself. Shielded by a false image of empowerment and civic leadership, the FBI has since launched an investigation into Henyard's finances, looking not only into her bank records, but into broader allegations of fraud, systemic manipulation, and financial misconduct. The probe comes amid mounting public outrage and demand for justice. As investigators peel back the layers of her administration, they are uncovering a troubling web of unchecked power, misused funds, and questionable ethics. Despite the serious nature of the accusations, Henyard has reportedly continued to evade accountability. Even as Dalton faces the consequences of her decisions, she has maintained an air of entitlement, reportedly asking for financial help to sustain the very lifestyle built on taxpayer dollars. Dalton's current state is a cautionary tale of what happens when political power goes unchecked. What began as a hopeful era of leadership quickly devolved into one marked by secrecy, greed, and irresponsibility. Henyard's administration not only failed to improve the lives of the people, it left behind unsafe housing, crumbling infrastructure, and a municipal debt crisis that could take decades to resolve. The impact is both financial and emotional. Residents are left to question how one individual was allowed to cause such widespread damage without intervention. How did oversight mechanisms fail so thoroughly, and how can the town ever truly recover betrayal is not just about money. It's about the erosion of public trust. For many in Dalton, Henyard's time in office represents more than just a political scandal. It's a deeply personal loss of faith in leadership, of resources that could have helped struggling families, and of opportunities to build a better future. Tiffany Henyard's story is now one of dramatic reversal, from a spotlight of political promise to the shadow of scandal and disgrace. Her legacy, once crafted through flashy public appearances and self-celebration, has unraveled under the weight of investigations, and public backlash. Her actions have left Dalton facing not just a financial crisis, but a moral one. The town must now rebuild from the wreckage, socially, economically, and politically. The road ahead will be long, and trust will not be easily restored. But if there's one lesson to be learned, it's that leadership without accountability is a dangerous thing. As the investigations continue and the true extent of Henyard's mismanagement becomes clearer, Dalton's residents remain the true victims, forced to carry the burden of decisions made in arrogance and self-interest. Her tenure serves as a stark warning about the cost of political excess and the vital importance of transparency, responsibility, and putting the public first. Tiffany Henyard. From power to scandal, Dalton's struggle for recovery once celebrated for her bold leadership and high-profile public image. Former Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard is now at the center of a devastating scandal that has rocked the town to its core. Her tenure, initially seen as a symbol of progress and empowerment, has unraveled into a tale of unchecked power, financial mismanagement, and betrayal. Services deteriorated under her watch. Essential needs like fire protection were ignored for years. Most notably, the fire department operated without a contract for 5 consecutive years. Police vehicles teetered on the edge of repossession due to budget shortfalls. While emergency services were neglected, Henyard maintained an extravagant personal security detail, which many likened more to a private bodyguard squad than necessity for public. This, to many, epitomized her self-serving leadership style. Focus on image, not substance. The situation has now escalated into a full-fledged criminal investigation. Leading the probe is Lori Leo, the former mayor of Chicago and a respected figure in municipal oversight. Leo's involvement underscores the seriousness of the allegations. As investigators dig deeper, what's emerging isn't simple negligence, but a calculated, systematic abuse of power. The public's outrage is growing. As more damaging revelations surface, Dalton residents are demanding justice and accountability for the years of harm inflicted during Henyard's administration. As scrutiny intensified, Henyard vanished from the public eye, skipping more than 25 board meetings before eventually resigning. Her abrupt disappearance forced the village board to appoint Jason House as interim mayor. While the town scrambled to stabilize its fractured governance, her fall from grace has been dramatic. Once living in luxury at the taxpayers' expense, Henyard is now reportedly liquidating personal belongings in a desperate bid to stay afloat amidst lawsuits and looming legal consequences. Meanwhile, Dalton is left in chaos, without leadership, burdened by financial disaster, and residents struggling to rebuild basic services. Adding insult to injury, Henyard has tried to distance herself from responsibility by blaming her former chief assistant, Keith Freeman. She claims Freeman was solely responsible for the town's financial decisions, portray herself as a powerless figurehead. But the public isn't buying. Henyard was the one signing off on spending, guiding policy, and steering the ship. Her efforts to deflect blame only deepen the distrust, reinforcing the view that she prioritized self-preservation over accountability. No amount of finger-pointing can erase the damage left in her wake. What could have been a promising leadership era instead unraveled into a cautionary tale of power corrupted. As the investigation progresses, it reveals a chilling portrait of a public servant who exploited her office for personal gain. What initially appeared as isolated missteps have revealed themselves to be part of a broader, intentional strategy of control and self-enrichment. From spending $200,000 on vanity banners featuring her face to allegedly leveraging city infrastructure for personal loans, Henyard's decisions drew national scrutiny and ignited widespread condemnation. Henyard's disappearance feels less like retreat and more like evasion, a game of hide and seek with both justice and the public. But this isn't a situation you can walk away from. Real lives, real services, and real trust were at stake. Her attempts to deflect blame onto others in her administration only amplify public anger, especially as more first-hand accounts begin to emerge. Former employees have stepped forward with disturbing allegations. A former HR manager claims she was fired for refusing to help Henyard conceal public records. Lawrence Gardner, a local business owner, alleges he was harassed by Dalton police and had his business license revoked after declining to participate in one of Henyard's public events. These stories point to a troubling culture of intimidation and retaliation, where loyalty to Henyard's personal agenda was prioritized over transparency or ethical governance. Her administration, many now say, operated less like a government and more like a personal empire, where dissent was punished and loyalty was rewarded. One of the most damning revelations centers on Henyard's alleged use of city-owned property as collateral for personal loans. This kind of financial maneuver, while possibly illegal, was certainly unethical, especially given the town's already precarious financial state. Turning public infrastructure into bargaining chips for personal gain reveals a breathtaking disregard for her duty as mayor, while Dalton's services withered, fire protection underfunded, police vehicles nearly repossessed. Henyard continued to spend on herself, reinforcing the image of a leader who governed for her personal benefit, not public service now. The people of Dalton are grappling with the aftermath. They've been left with shattered local government, decimated public trust, and a mountain of financial instability. As the FBI investigation deepens and lawsuits mount, Henyard's scandal becomes more layered and damning with each passing week. While she scrambles to escape responsibility, residents are left to pick up the pieces of a town left in ruin. Her administration has become a textbook case of how political power, when unchecked, can devastate a community. Henyard's fall from grace is seen by many as long overdue. But even as the truth comes to light, there is little consolation for those who continue to suffer from the decisions she made while in power. Her actions have not only destroyed her legacy, they've jeopardized the very foundation of Dalton's economy, government, and community cohesion. Rebuilding will take years, possibly decades. Restoring trust will be even harder. The people of Dalton, once hopeful about a new era of leadership, now face the grim reality that their town was misled, mismanaged, and manipulated by someone they trusted. Their calls for accountability are louder than ever, and the hope is that justice, however delayed, will finally arrive. Tiffany Henyard's GoFundMe gambit. A final insult to Dalton. Tiffany Henyard's fall from political grace may be inevitable, but the damage she left behind in Dalton is far from over. Once hailed as a rising political figure, Henyard is now embroiled in scandal after scandal, and her latest move has pushed public outrage to new heights despite being at the center of financial crisis that has crippled the town she once led. Henyard has launched a GoFundMe campaign, asking the public to help her pay off debts she amassed during her controversial time in office. The same mayor who once used taxpayer money to fund luxury vacations, extravagant security details, and vanity projects like $119,000 welcome banners featuring her face, is now asking the very people she betrayed to donate money to clean up the mess she made of many. It's a slap in the face. Dalton continues to reel from the real-world consequences of Henyard's mismanagement. The town's credit is in shambles. Police vehicles have been at risk of repossession. The fire department still operates without essential contracts. Infrastructure has been neglected, and critical municipal services are underfunded. And yet, as these issues continue to pile up, Henyard seems more focused on salvaging her image and perhaps her lifestyle than addressing the pain she left behind. Even more infuriating is the GoFundMe campaign's success, reportedly raising nearly $155,000. The news has left Dalton residents stunned and angry. Many view the campaign not as a genuine call for help, but as a manipulative attempt to bankroll yet another strategic disappearance. Something Henyard has been accused of before when scandals escalated. Her silence and repeated absences, including skipping more than 25 board meetings prior to her resignation, have only deepened the distrust. Now, instead of facing the consequences of her leadership, Henyard has vanished again, leaving interim Mayor Jason House to pick up the pieces. The contrast between Henyard's opulent past and her current pleas for public sympathy could not be more stark. This is a woman who once operated with near royal authority, flanked by $1 million security detail, surrounded by luxury and driven by vanity projects, all funded by taxpayers. Now, she casts herself as a victim in financial distress, trying to rewrite her narrative as one of persecution and injustice. But for many in Dalton, the GoFundMe is nothing more than a final insult, tone deaf at best and manipulative at worst. Rather than expressing remorse or offering restitution, Henyard appears to be spinning the story to suit her needs, portrayed herself as misunderstood and targeted by political enemies. It's an act many see as a calculated ploy to deflect from the damage she's caused. Critics argue that this campaign isn't about paying off debt. It's about maintaining a lifestyle she can no longer afford through traditional means. The hypocrisy is glaring. The same leader who once splurged on taxpayer-funded luxuries now appeals to public goodwill. For survival, some residents and political observers have gone even further, accusing Henyard of leveraging identity politics to shield herself from accountability. Allegations have surfaced that she's using political affiliations and social identity to deflect scrutiny and manipulate public perception. While these claims have stirred significant controversy, they also underscore the larger issue. Many believe Henyard is willing to use any tool available, including sympathy, distraction, and division. To escape responsibility, this tactic only deepens public frustration. Residents are still waiting for answers about how public property was used as collateral for private loans, how millions in public funds were spent, and why essential services were left around Henyard's GoFundMe stunt fits into a broader pattern of behavior: lavish spending in office, evasion when questioned, and now victimhood in the face of consequences. Critics point out that this cycle has played out repeatedly during her time in public life, each time leaving more wreckage in its wake as pressure mounts. So does the urgency for answers? Former town employees and whistleblowers continue to come forward. One former HR manager alleges she was fired for refusing to help Henyard conceal public records. A local business owner, Lawrence Gardner, claims he was harassed by Dalton police and had his business license revoked after refusing to participate in one of Henyard's events. These stories point to a culture of coercion and retaliation. Where dissent was punished, transparency was avoided, and loyalty to Henyard's personal agenda was the price of keeping a job or business in Dalton. The picture that emerges is of an administration that operated less like a local government and more like a personal fiefdom. Henyard's alleged misuse of city-owned property as loan collateral remains one of the most serious allegations. Using public infrastructure to secure personal loans, especially while the town teetered on financial collapse, is not just unethical, it may be criminal. The FBI is currently investigating her financial activities, and scrutiny of her past decisions continues to intensify as lawsuits pile up and more details emerge. Henyard's attempt to shift the narrative is falling flat with Dalton residents. What was once disbelief has turned into determination. The community wants accountability, not public relations campaigns or emotional appeals. Each revelation strengthens the public's resolve to ensure that justice is served. The people of Dalton are no longer content to sit on the sidelines while Henyard tries to erase her mistakes with spin and donations. They want to know where the money went, why city assets were gambled, and how someone entrusted with leadership could bring a town to its knees. The betrayal cuts deep. Dalton residents are not just angry, they're heartbroken. They trusted Henyard. They believed in her leadership. Now they're left with a broken town, broken services, and broken trust. Many are struggling to pay their own bills, support their families, and navigate a community still in recovery. While the former mayor who helped create this chaos is collecting donations online to many, the GoFundMe campaign has become a symbol of everything wrong with Henyard's time in office. The entitlement, the deflection of blame, the lack of accountability, and the refusal to face reality. It's not just about the money. It's about the principle Dalton's recovery will be long and difficult. Infrastructure must be rebuilt. Services must be restored. And public trust must be earned again. But the residents are resilient. And they're not backing down. They've made it clear that they won't let this latest stunt go unanswered. They are watching, organizing, and speaking out. Their message is unmistakable. No more manipulation, no more spin, and no more evasion.